If you've ever wondered how someone goes from studying nursing to becoming one of the most recognizable faces on the Golf Channel, this interview is for you. I sat down with Lauren Thompson and we talk about her incredible career journey and what it was really like being pregnant on live TV, and how motherhood completely changed her priorities, and her take on burnout and perfectionism. It's something everyone needs to hear. Lauren, you didn't originally set out to work in golf. Your path was very different in the beginning. Is it true that you were thinking of becoming a nurse and now you've built this incredible career in media?
It's very funny. Life has a good sense of humor, doesn't it? Because
It really
you're
does.
setting out on one thing, and this started when I was like middle school, early high school. I've always loved, taking care of people. I've always been interested in the medical field, but the shows that I was watching when I was, in middle school and high school were very different than what a lot of my friends were watching. I was obsessed with like anything health and medical related. TLC was like my go-to network, Medical Incredible, labor and delivery. Like that's what I was all about. So, set out to become a nurse and maybe even a nurse midwife. I actually thought that might be the career path for me.
Wow.
I know. And throughout college, still going to get my nursing degree, I was doing a lot of stuff with car commercials and fitness infomercials, voiceover work. And that at the time was just kind of like a hobby, I thought. But then just had a complete 180, a change in direction. I've always loved the adrenaline that comes with production and especially live TV.
Right.
Honestly, just kind of decided to do a little pivot and change things. And here we are today.
How did you get involved in the golf aspect of it, though?
So golf is funny because it was never something I played a lot of sports growing up,
Uh-huh.
but I didn't play golf. And unfortunately, my late father, who we lost when I was a baby due to a brain tumor,
Oh,
he loved the game, and I always knew this about him. And so it weirdly served as like this indirect connection that I might teach
oh,
him if I were to take up the game. And in college, I dated a guy who played golf. He brought me to the driving range for a date. Swung a club for the first time that night. Club head popped off. It was a driver. So I was like, okay, this is not a good start.
it's not a good sign.
Oh, like, come on, dad, like help me out here. I'm trying to take up the sport that you love. But I was kind of hooked ever since then. And it's a challenging game. It's a humbling game. It's one that you always constantly have to work on. It looks so easy when you're watching the pros on TV.
Oh,
And you go out there and you look down the range and everyone's terrible. So it's just an addictive game. But the first call came from a guy named Jay Kossoff, who was an executive at Golf Channel probably 15 years ago. I'm still in contact with him now. And he had worked with a producer who worked with me. And he's like, listen, they're looking for someone for Golf Channel. We know you don't really play a whole lot, but we think that you could still be a really great asset to the network for like
right.
countdown entertainment style show. I was on board immediately that day during our casting, essentially. They told me, listen, you're not going to ever play golf on TV. You're just going to, talk golf. And I knew enough about it. I was relatively immersed in just watching the game.
Right, right.
But I accepted that as a challenge and kind of secretly started taking lessons, and
Yeah.
then was part of their travel show, and the rest is history. And I'm chasing 80. So I'm a 13 handicap, working on becoming a single handicap.
You're going to get there so soon. I know
Oh
it.
my gosh, I hope so. I hope so. Lord help us all.
Oh my God. My daughter Rose, she played D1 golf, and she always says she's one shot away from offing herself. It's so frustrating,
Yeah.
right?
You're one shot away from coming back to it also.
That's true. And then you get that right when you're about to off yourself, you get that one, you hit that one amazing drive, or, hit that putt, and you're like, okay, I'm back. I'm back.
You're like, I've solved all the world's problems. I know
Yes.
exactly what I need to do now. I know.
You've interviewed some of the biggest names in golf. What's something that you've learned from them that stuck with you personally?
Wow. Every interview is so different. And I love all the players in golf. I especially love talking to junior golfers. Actually, that's a very much a passion of mine because, they're in it for fun. They all have their own story of how they got into the game, and they're just so
Right.
fired up. The possibilities are endless at that time. So juniors are truly my favorite. But also, close second favorite is, the PGA Tour champions, the veterans of our game, because they have so much perspective. They're so thankful to just still be a part of the game and still swinging a club if their body is able. So I feel like they offer the best stories and, tips and tricks. I've worked closely interview wise with Gary Player and Fred
Wow.
Couples and Tom Watson, and those guys are just they're incredible at what they do for a lot of reasons, but they're so energetic and they just want to give back to the game. And I always say, if I've learned something from the interview process and from the golfers, I honestly really think it's Gary Player. He's someone who
Really?
started with nothing, and he was so driven just to make a difference in his own life and then in the community, and then especially with his home country of South Africa, he gives back to them continuously, to villages of especially like women and children who have kind of been left out in the cold, and they have no other route. I've been a strong part of his charity golf series for a while now, and I luckily got to MC his 90th birthday late last year.
Wow.
Incredible. And he just always has something inspirational to say. Um, so much energy still in his 90s. Of course, just hit the ceremonial tee shot at the Masters again, which I just feel like, you know, he's always got to be a part of that ceremony. And he says he's going to do it until he's 100. So I can't wait to see that. But, you get a little bit of something from every interview that you do in this game. But Gary Player is one that's just like the gift that keeps on giving to me.
I agree. And how exciting that Rory got his second Masters. Wow.
No, that was insane. I mean,
Right?
I don't think I was
Two in
alone.
a row. Wow.
2 in a row. And it was so prophetic of him last year when he finally got the green jacket to say that he wanted to be back at Augusta National the following year and to put the jacket back on himself. And then he does it.
Right?
That's just the craziest thing.
Goosebumps.
So proud of him. Incredible.
What's been the biggest leap you've had to take?
Oh,
With this, like besides everything?
To pick one. I mean, it's so tricky. So, wow. Being that I wanted to be a nurse for so long, I think my biggest leap, honestly, was very early when people told me that television, commercials, things along those lines weren't, a quote unquote real job. So, after college, initially, if I didn't do nursing and I changed my career path pretty early on, I'm like, okay, Lauren, you've done the TV stuff to put yourself through college, but, now that college is about to wrap up, like, let's be real. You need to find a job that has benefits, something that's steady, something that you can depend on. But I was always being kind of tugged back into that TV direction. And, television, a lot of times with production, it's going to be contract by contract, which feels very, not very
unstable.
Yes, exactly. And then you're kind of wondering, okay, well, I'm renewed right now for a year or two, but then what? So you always feel like you have to have this plan B. And I set out, I did the sales thing for a very short period of time. I had never been more unhappy and, just did not feel fulfilled. Didn't feel like I was doing what I was supposed to do.
Right.
So when I turned around and decided that I was going to try out for Golf Channel and I was going to make this, 1,000% what my career was, I think my family had their hesitations. They were a little curious. They're like, okay, well, this sounds fun, but then what? And what if you want a family? That's not going to be very conducive to a TV, especially a travel show schedule. So what's the plan after that? And then honestly, I just decided pretty early on to make up my own mind about things. And I was going to pursue this. It was going to be fun. I was going to put my heart and soul into it, see where it goes. And here we are, 15, 16 years later, been with Golf Channel, NBC, now Versant, which owns Golf Channel. And I love the ride and I cannot imagine myself doing anything else.
So what's that like? I mean, how much travel do you do? Do you like every day? Are you in the studio or like how much travel do you actually do?
Oh my gosh, every month is different. It depends a lot of times on tour stops. It depends on the independent contract work that I do with different charity events and, where those happen to be. Largely, I'm in studio with Versant, working on a lot of private projects, a lot of voiceover things, bulletins for private clubs, but also kind of keeping the beat on the news. It's, you get your set schedule and then you're trying to kind of fill in the blanks with what else you could do to stay involved in different charity endeavors. Of course, being a mom, as all moms know, is a full-time job too. So I'm kind of juggling it all, but we're at an exciting point right now where I've pitched a lot of really fun ideas to my friends, the executive producers at Golf Channel. And so I think we have some fun things in the pipeline. So,
I can't wait to hear about that.
Yeah.
We'll have to have you back when you can speak about those things.
I can't wait.
That's exciting. How has becoming a mother changed the way you approach your work and your life?
Oh my gosh, it is the ultimate prioritizer, if that's a word.
Yes.
I think that it's funny because I talk to young women who are getting into television, into production, and I hear the same thing over and over again, and it's the same thing I told myself when I was younger, is, I need to get set in this industry and then I'll have kids. And I need to tackle this particular career objective, or I need to get this goal. And then, of course, you always want the bigger, better thing. And the more you work, the more work you get. Typically.
Right. The more you work, the more you work.
Oh, yeah. And it's just going to keep going. And at a certain point, you have to realize, okay, how much of being a mom is a priority for me. And that was extremely high on the list, if not the highest priority on my list. So, one day you just have to bite the bullet and go for it. And God willing, it all worked out. I've got the funniest story when I shared that I was pregnant to our executive producer, Molly Solomon at the time here at Golf Channel. Girl, I was so nervous going to her.
Oh, I bet you were so scared.
So nervous because honestly, Golf Channel had not had a pregnant on-air woman ever at the time. So it just hadn't happened. So, not for any particular reason, but just hadn't been done. So I'm like, okay, well, they could, on the morning show, I kind of stand behind this podium. So
So
maybe
you can hide it.
hide
Yeah.
it this way. And so I go in there, I'm terrified. I've made an appointment with her. I walk in her office, I sit down, my hands are shaking.
Oh,
And I reach across the table and I'm like, okay, so I think it's gonna be fine. And trust me, like this is not gonna take away from my job. But these are the ways that we can hide things. I'm pregnant, by the way. And she reached across the table and she held my hands and she goes, why would we try to hide this? And in my head,
oh,
how silly I sounded. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Why would we try to hide this? And she's like, no, this is a natural thing. Our morning
oh.
tours, they feel like they know you. You're coming to them to their TVs early in the morning. You come
Right. You're part of their everyday life.
you're part of their life. Like keep people posted on this. Why would we hide this? Let's fill it in. And honestly, we did some really fun morning segments on, if your doctor says that you're approved to continue to play, these are the tips and tricks to continue to
Amazing.
play golf comfortably, of course, at your doctor's discretion with their advice. I had my instructor come in. He started talking about, well, Lauren's hitting her long irons and her driver better than ever before because of that. The growing belly is somehow helping that weight shift right there. And I'm like,
Oh my God.
we go. So
Amazing.
it was fun. It was enjoyable. It was great. And then honestly, priority wise, nothing sets the tone bigger than being a mom because you know exactly your limits pretty early on after that baby arrives. And you're
Right.
able to, line up your schedule and manage your time and compartmentalize, I think. At least that was something that was very helpful to me. When I'm at work, I'm thinking about work. But the second I'm at home, that's all I'm thinking about there too. So it was, a little bit of a challenge, but I accepted that challenge. I loved it. And I feel like honestly, I was better and more talented at what I did because I was giving 100%. I knew who I was working for. I knew the people that I wanted to impress. And honestly, you want to impress the viewers, but you want to be proud of yourself as a mom and to your family first and foremost. So I think that really helped me kind of line things up for myself. And then it was never a question of should I do this or not? It was more, is this something that makes myself proud? Is this something that makes my family?
Right.
Would this make my kids proud down the road? Then it's a yes.
I agree. And I think it's such a good example. Like for my kids, I've always taught them to figure out what you love doing so much that you do it for free and then figure out how to get paid. And I think the example that we set as moms of these jobs that we have that are clearly not the everyday normal job it's going to inspire them. Your kids are significantly younger than mine, but I think they're going to be so inspired by you more than you will know. You'll notice when you get older. Your mom is such a strong influence in your life. What's something she taught you that you carry with you every day?
Ooh, oh my gosh. Well, my mom is just the strongest person I know. As I told you earlier, we lost my dad. It was 2 weeks before my first birthday. So
Oh my gosh.
yes, and she had my
I'm
older
so
sister,
sorry.
in tow. Things were not easy, already as it was, and then to take a very sick husband who's battling a brain tumor, and not
Oh,
knowing where that's going to go. They did a surgery, I'm told, where they removed, like a fist size of the tumor. In the brain at the time, and they thought after that surgery, okay, now we're moving on. But the brain is complicated, and there's a lot of grooves in the brain, and tumors and cancers can find ways to hang out. And
right.
so
Oh,
I know I hate thinking, now with today's technology, who knows what could have happened. But I love his story. I love everything I've heard about him. And my mom very early showed me and my sister, this is not the end of the world. Life goes on. We're going to power through. And she was the ultimate example of someone who stood her ground when she needed to in her jobs that she had. She became a teacher. She was a nurse, and then she became a
oh,
teacher.
wow.
hmm Because she wanted to have the same schedule as me and my sister. Very early on, she was like, I don't want to be having other people raise my kids. I don't want to have to rely on my village per se. She's like, if I'm a teacher and I'm working at the same school where my girls are going to school, we're going to have the same hours, we're going to have the same
So
holiday.
smart.
And this is just what I'm going to do. And she is an incredible teacher. She's a science teacher. She embarrassed me a million times in front of my friends as my own teacher. But she's the one out there, digging in the ground for earthworms and doing like dissections on our yard with a tarp spread out when my
Oh my
kids were coming
gosh.
over when I was younger. And they would be like, Lauren, what is your mom working on in the yard? I'm like, well, she's dissecting a shark or a cow's brain or sheep's eyes or earthworms. I mean, just like you went in our garage and it was various white buckets that smelled like formaldehyde of just different things she would be working on in her class. And so she was always interesting, I can tell you that. But my one of my proudest moments with her was my wedding, because leading up to my wedding, everyone's like, well, who's gonna walk you down the aisle? Who's gonna give you away? And I'm like, my mom. Like,
Well, of
I don't know.
course.
anyone else do that. She's the one that raised me. And so, and my sister had her walk her down the aisle as well.
Oh, it's
That was
beautiful.
just the most special moment. I've never been so proud to be hand in hand with her because she's the one that taught me everything, showed me the ropes, shows what strength is all about, even when things are extremely hard and they look very dark. And, she still is full of that knowledge. So I owe my mom absolutely everything.
That's incredible. And it sounds like she did it with a lot of dignity and grace, which is
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
beautiful.
Strongest one.
That's amazing. You've spent years in live television. What can be unpredictable and it can be unpredictable and high pressure? What has that experience taught you about handling pressure and staying present?
It's funny. So expect literally everything if you're on live TV, especially
Oh,
with the crew that I worked with. Those who watched Golf Morning Drive on Golf Channel, I mean, there was a cast of characters on that show with us. Charlie Reimer is just a ridiculous person who's still one of my best friends. Damon Hack, Gary Williams, Paige McKenzie. I mean, we just had such a family unit going, and we loved each other so much, and we had so much respect for each other. But you've got the rundown and the script of how the show's supposed to go that day. And largely it goes that way. Thank God to producers in the control room who kind of
right.
put on track. But man, we had some wild moments on that show. And it was, anything from tech issues to just like stories and guests that do the unpredictable. And honestly, I love slip ups in live TV because I feel like it proves to your audience that you're live. So when I'm
That's
watching,
true.
you know? So when I'm watching the Today Show or, other live TV that's on every single day, and they're moving very quickly from topic to topic, and that is very hard to do, and to stay on track with your commercial breaks and everything else, and all the elements you got to get in during that show. But then little things go wrong, and you just keep going. And I feel like viewers, if they're like me, they love those little moments because they're like, okay, they're live, they keep going. It brings out the humor and the realness of situations. So you just keep going, you get through it, and you laugh at it at the end of the day, and then you get up and you do it all over again.
Exactly. You've described golf as your happy place. Are there any other places that are your happy place?
Oh my gosh, my happy place. I mean, not much beats the golf course. It's just whether you're out there with family or, honestly, I call it mom's morning out when you're by yourself, first tee time of the day, dew is still on the ground. You're trying to like race against the greenkeepers that are getting the
Yeah,
whole,
yeah.
they're like, who's this girl who's playing by herself and trying to get through 18 holes in 2 hours? So, but it can be done if
Cardio
it's first
golf.
time of the day, right? So, I mean, I don't know if anything beats that. But if it's not the golf course, it's the beach. I mean, I love, we lived in Melbourne Beach for a couple of years, just moved back to Central Florida recently. I don't know if there's anything better than, laying in the sand and then kind of alternating between getting a little sun and then getting in the ocean. It just seems like it's healing.
It's
The body,
heavenly.
soul feels cleaner once you've been swimming in the ocean. I mean, there's just, if it's not the golf course, it's going to be the beach.
I completely agree. So, who are you when the camera turns off?
Honestly, I feel like I'm the same person, and I would hope that most people would agree with me who know me both on and off camera. Usually, it's maybe a little less hairspray and no makeup. It's sweatpants usually when I'm at home and like a messy bun and absolutely no makeup. But I'm a really optimistic person. I'm very thankful for everything I've got in life. I feel like God's never wrong when He changes our paths a little bit, and so I'm eternally thankful for that. Um, but I don't know. It's pretty much what you see is what you get. I'm a smiley girl. I love golf. I love hanging out with my family. I love good food. Those are kind of my favorite things in
Do you
life.
cook? Do you like to cook?
Oh, girl, I'm a terrible cook.
No, I don't believe you.
Not good. I'm not good. Well, I married an Italian man, so thank
Ah,
who's the one who really knows what he's doing in the kitchen. He trusts me with like spaghetti, and that's about it. And other than that, it's more like pushing me out of the kitchen, letting him do his thing. I like to clean. He likes to cook, and that's the
perfect.
formula that works for.
Perfect couple. What would people be surprised to know about you?
Oh gosh, surprised to know about me. Wow. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little hard on myself, but I think that's everyone. I think people would be surprised to know, and I don't think I'm the only person in television who's like this. I hate rewatching my own material. Like I absolutely just, it's so painful to like watch back something or to like watch it. Oh, check out the show before it airs. I'm like, no, I'm good. Like I
I'm
was
good.
on the taping. I know what happens. Because all I'm going to do is sit there and nitpick like, oh, she keeps making this weird expression or this little saying or laughs too loud or too much, and then you just drive yourself crazy. So maybe that would surprise people.
That would be because I think people look at you in with such an amazing light. So,
Oh,
what have you had to let go of to become who you are today?
your ego. I mean, we're going to mess up left and right. I think very, very early on, you've got to let go of the idea of being perfect, of having a perfect segment, of having a perfect day at work. You've got to let go of the issues, though, the slip ups, because I have had some major slip ups on live TV during interviews. just saying the wrong thing completely, maybe getting some bad research on my own back in the day, especially when I was early in my process of getting ready for events and getting ready for interviews. And, you just got to keep going. And then that interview will wrap up and you will drive home and absolutely beat yourself up the whole way back thinking, I'm terrible at this. What am I doing? I just need to start over. I'm definitely not going to check social media because I'm sure they're going to give it to me after that. So little things like that, but you've got to let those situations go. You've got to move on. I always say I give myself the car ride to be mad at myself. And then I'm determined to come back stronger and better the next day. Just better the process, more research. I love to over prepare. I know that's not everyone's thing, but I just feel like, over researching just in case certain topics come up that probably aren't even lined up for the interview always makes you more solid and always just makes you look better versed with your guest.
Absolutely.
So
and it makes you feel better.
It does. It's more conversational. It makes them feel more comfortable, like they know you. I also feel like, it's important to have a little bit of warm up time with someone before you interview them, especially on live TV.
Right.
Morning Drive, we would stack up interviews so many times that you don't always get that liberty. But, I always love to kind of pop out in the hallway and just get 2-3 minutes just to talk with someone before you're live, especially if it's a junior golfer. We had a lot of juniors come on and they'd be real nervous. I felt like that just made them feel more comfortable with you.
Right.
And
that's going to make your interview better as well.
All the time. And if they say after the interview's done, wow, that went by really fast, you did a good job because, it wasn't painstaking for them. They felt comfortable with you. They felt good about it. They felt like a friend versus, just someone who was walking into the studio and doing their interview for the day. And that would be a success. But yeah, you got to check all those issues at the door, let it go, move on to the next day.
And I also think people really feel, they appreciate the effort that you put in because I know I've been on shows as a guest where the person just had no idea my name, what I do, anything. And it's like, I'm giving you my time. And I think that's the least that we can do as a host, to be prepared because someone's being generous enough to, you've given me your time today. And I'm so incredibly grateful.
Yes. And just, respect as a human being.
Totally.
Like, it looks
completely.
So if you're not ready, you need to, just for the respect of that person, your guest, you need to be prepared.
Absolutely. Have you ever felt burnt out and how did you come back from that?
Oh gosh. I mean, I've had those moments so many times. And honestly, a lot of times it's just kind of playing the grateful game about saying, the things that have worked out so well in your life before when you thought you were coming to a bump in the road, when you thought you were coming to a moment when things were going to end. Goodness, I remember, I think 2020 was like that for everyone, but that just so happened to be the year that Golf Channel was moving from Orlando, Florida to Stamford, Connecticut. And
oh, wow.
Huge shift in the culture at the company. And this is, without the whole world knowing that like COVID-19 was about to shut down the whole and all that junk was about to go down. But this was before that, just by a few months. And we were hearing the rumors towards late 2019 that the company might be relocating. And we were hearing various different locations. We heard Ponte Vedra Beach. We heard Chicago, weirdly, which, I don't even know how that would have fit in there.
Yeah.
We heard Stamford, Connecticut, which is where the NBC Sports studio was. And, honestly, I usually won't even entertain things like that until I know it's actually something I need to worry about. So I ignored the rumors for a very long time and just kept showing up and doing my job and then going home. But it hit a point, January 2020, where the rumors were everywhere. And, you're getting asked if you go out to, a restaurant after like an Orlando Magic game here, like a sports reporter will be coming saying, where's Golf Channel going? And you're like, oh my gosh, we're at dinner. So Molly Solomon, our executive producer, who I talked about a little bit earlier, she came in at the end of January. And I remember she was, she was so passionate about our network and she already had tears in her eyes. And after the show wrapped, she sat us all down and told us that the company was going to Stamford, Connecticut. It was strictly a business thing. And we were heartbroken. We've been down the road from Bay Hill Club and Lodge forever. Arnold started Golf Channel, and to think of it leaving Orlando, where he set it up to be, was shattering to the network at the time. But it's what we had to do to keep live golf on Golf Channel, essentially. So, I told Molly, I told a lot of people that I wasn't going to be making the move to Stamford, Connecticut. And I think they kind of knew that that's where my whole family's here in Orlando. But luckily I was able to wrap up our last day in Studio AP, named after Arnold Palmer, December of 2020, before everything moved up to Connecticut. So I was, eternally grateful that they trusted me enough, even though I wasn't going to be renewed with them per se right after the official headquarters move, that they let me stay on air, and I'll always be thankful for that. But it was very disheartening at the time.
Oh, I'm
But,
sure.
I brought champagne in that last day of studio because everyone was so sad, and I'm like,
Right.
we're gonna cry about this, and we can. I think we have the right to, but I
Right.
also feel like we should celebrate what we did together. And so the champagne kind of threw people off a little bit, but then I think they understood where I was going with it by the end of the day. And it just all comes back to being grateful for what you have when you feel like there's a big fork in the road, and you're burnout and you don't really know what you're doing anymore. And I think burnout also, it's a good time to kind of realign your priorities. Think about why you do something in the first place, and why you're even in that industry or that career field. And the good thing about life is that you can always change it if you want to. And that's nice to know.
Absolutely. What do you wish you know now that what do you know now that you wish you knew when you were in your 20s?
Oh, girl, everything. But honestly, I don't know if it would have helped me then, because I was such a free thinker and just so, the world is your oyster and anything could happen. And so at that time you think, sky's the limit. And I think that's healthy at that time. And if we knew all of the blocks in the road that would happen, and the challenges and the bad days and the bad
Right.
weeks, or maybe even the bad years that were going to happen, then we wouldn't go down that road and we wouldn't have those lessons. So I feel like it's healthy to not think too much about what you wish you would have known. I would say that there were probably some career choices early on, especially when I was doing like print work, where I probably wouldn't do those exact jobs again. I don't think they serve me well long term. You'll take bookings kind of early on in entertainment where it's this commercial or this infomercial, and sounds fun, easy check. I'll go ahead and do that, knock it out. But ultimately, does it stand for what I stand for as a person?
Right. Your
But
brand, because you are your brand and your brand is you.
you are your brand. And for you and I, thinking back to when we were younger, in our 20s, whatever, social media was pretty new, internet was even relatively new, and so it was like you didn't realize the standing power and the longevity of some of these things that we did and put out there. And at
Right.
the time it was no big deal, but yet it still lives on the
And
internet.
it's,
So
yes, it's still there
so
lingering.
those are the things that I would maybe try and give myself a little heads up on, and tell myself to align my beliefs with each and every job that I'm doing.
Okay, we're going to do some rapid fire. You ready?
Okay, love this.
Here we go. Morning person or night owl?
Both, in a weird way. I'm a napper though. I'll get up early,
Oh.
but then I sneak in an afternoon nap.
And how long is your little afternoon nap?
Ooh, I'd love it to be like 2, 3 hours, but it's usually like 45 minutes to an hour.
Amazing.
If I can squeeze it in that day, fingers crossed.
What do you do when your day isn't flowing?
When my day isn't flowing?
Yes.
Oh gosh. Just drink a lot of coffee. Coffee girl. Like that's just, if I need energy to get the day still going, I drink copious amounts of coffee, and that seems to do the trick.
Okay, well, there goes my next question. It was coffee or matcha. So I guess it's
Coffee, 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 coffee. Yes, girl, strong coffee.
Oh my God, I love it. How important is self-care? And do you have any special diet and workout tips that you're loving right now?
I think balance is the ultimate self-care, because to put ourselves in a box and to have all these little things, tough to do. But I think naps are self-care. Wink, wink.
Yes,
Just talked
huge.
about there. Naps are
So important.
huge. It's just a great way to reset the mind. Long hot showers. You got your cold plunge people, and then you got your long hot showers people. And I'm a long hot shower person.
You're not a bath person?
Not really, because then I'm just gonna want to take a shower after, because I've been like soaking in my own.
Soaking in.
I just need
Yes.
I need the rinse, a full
Okay.
rinse.
Where is your favorite place to play golf?
Favorite place to play golf, Ireland. Never had a better time on the golf course than in Ireland, because the people are so wonderful. The scenery's awesome. You get it on the right day, you might have some good weather, but you also might have all four seasons in one day. So, I do not think anything can beat the history and the beauty of golf in Ireland.
It's iconic.
It's beautiful.
What is one thing you always carry in your bag?
Ooh, I always carry, a lot of like moisturizers. I've got the driest skin in the world. So I always have like 2 different hand creams. I'm like looking in my bag right now because I'm just know what's in there. There's probably 3 different face creams, like 10 different lip balms and moisturizers. I just want to be like a glazed donut by the end of the day
Oh
after
my God, I love that.
all the moisture, all of
No,
it.
I know it's like constant.
Yeah.
Are you a supplement girl?
Yeah, I am. I'm not super diligent with them. I'm really good at buying supplements and then not taking them, which I feel like somehow counts if it's, there in the drawer. But, on my best days, I'm balancing like the multivitamin gummy, the probiotics, the turmeric,
Right.
the Niagen, oh my gosh, what else am I
The
taking?
omega oils, so
Yes,
important.
like all this stuff, so the magnesium,
Oh, the magnesium's
Okay.
huge.
Yes, for sure.
One word that describes you right now.
Thankful, thankful for everything, the good and the bad.
Yes. Best advice you've ever been given.
Say yes to everything, even if it scares you, especially if it scares you.
Most exactly. I change that now to that fear is excitement,
Yes,
because I think our brains kind of mess with us. We tell ourselves we're scared and then we are. But if we say, oh no, I'm excited, then it's a totally different vibe.
exactly. I've heard this in career paths, that are entertainment versions or just any career path, just work life in general. Say yes to it and then learn how to do it. Because I feel like you will lose so many opportunities just by telling yourself, I don't really think I'm good at that. I don't think I'm set for that. Someone else would probably be better at that, but maybe not. So go ahead, say yes to it. Let it scare you a little bit, but let that also fuel your excitement. Do your research and just come in firing and doing your best. You will shock yourself.
What brings you peace?
God. I mean, I'm very open about my faith. Grew up in a Christian home, which, can mean something to a lot of people, but that was just reaffirmed so many times throughout my life, a million challenges. Anytime I feel like I'm falling on my face, I just bury myself in prayer and thought and meditation, whatever people want to call it. And I always come out on the other side feeling better and breathing and just taking everything one day at a time and knowing that someone else is in control and I'm good. Then I don't have to worry about it.
Perfect. One thing you want your boys to learn from you.
I want them to be fearless. I want them to take on every opportunity. I don't want them to feel like they're ever in a box or that they have to do things one way or the other. I want them to follow their gut, big time in relationships and career paths, just in whatever they set out to do. I think trusting your instincts is huge as a person. And I just want them to go after everything in life.
I love that. What have I not asked you today that you'd like to share?
Ooh, well, what could you ask me that I would like to share? Well, let's see. I don't have any huge news on the horizon yet, but I hope that you ask me back once I might have some
Oh,
news. What's
you're
coming up with golf?
always welcome.
I think next year is going to be super exciting.
Oh my God, I cannot wait. Lauren, thank you so much for being here. You are such a beautiful example of what it looks like to build a life with intention, balancing career, family, and taking time for yourself. I think it's such a powerful reminder that success isn't about what we do, but how we feel, how we show up, and how we take care of ourselves along the way. Please
Absolutely.
follow Lauren. And I thank you so much for being here. And as always, I am Christina Flach, and I'm too busy, and I'll see you next week.